Welcome to Decades of Horror, the 1970s.
I remembered that I was sneaking out the back door of the bar. So I said to myself, what the hell are you doing, man? Sneaking out the back door, running away, man. From what? I mean, you didn't do nothing. Nobody can prove that you did nothing because you did not do nothing.
This is episode 232, recorded on December 30th, 2024.
Gruesome Magazine.
And all the double negatives will pile up. I am your host, Doc Rotten, and what was that? This podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host and I will tackle another classic or not so classic film from this groovy, wondrous, gory, and influential decade. Just throwing those all together these days. All right, let me introduce the rest of the crew, starting off with Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
You laughing?
Eyes.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Okay.
The
that quote reminded me of the Warner Brothers Alibi and all the gangster things. I didn't do nothing. You didn't see me. You can't prove nothing.
I didn't do nothing. Also joining us this week is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, and special effects guru, and all-around nice guy.
Still chilling here in Florida.
I'm chilling like a villain.
Chilling like a villain, man. If just a tip, if your interview with the police goes anything like that, you might as well just sign the confession.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding?
I didn't do it. If I did do it, you didn't see it. If you did see it, you can't prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't work out well for him, did it?
No.
All right. Also joining us tonight is Chad Hunt, who is everything to everybody. How you doing, Chad?
I am fantabulous.
Fantabulous.
I'm not everything to all the people that count, but I guess,
They call him E-Man.
E-Man. There is an E-Man out there. Anyway, also joining us, special guest, Dirk Rogers, who is, everything. How you doing, Dirk?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling everything. I'm happy to be back. Happy to hang out with you guys again. Talk some 70s horror.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Absolutely.
everything's good. Ready for the new year to
back
begin.
Wall there at all, or
sorry, what?
did you change your back wall at all?
I put in a new light fixture, so it's a little brighter.
Yes, it is.
Oh, and I put in a
Right or red?
camera. I put in a camera post.
Yeah,
That's what's new. Yeah,
that's new.
that is fantastic.
He's really neat.
You got some great stuff up there. Glad to have you here, sir, to talk
Pleasure
about
to be here. Thank you.
Eyes of Laura Mars. If we're all ready to do that.
You even got glass doors on there to keep dust off them, right?
Oh, man.
Kind of have to, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like any good collector, I collect stuff so that I can collect dust.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Spend the first half of your life collecting stuff, and then the second half of your life trying to give it a good home.
Yep, get the dust off of it. We are going to be reviewing Eyes of Laura Mars from 1978 today, and we have a lot of information for you. But before we get to all that, Jeff Mohr has a little bit to say about Play Now Media. Bum, bum, bum.
Yes, I do. And we partner with Play Now Media. And in fact, Decades for the 1970s is on their streaming channel, the Wicked Horror TV channel. And they are offering a promo codes for our listeners and viewers. If you enter DOH70, capital D, capital O, capital H, 70 for the promo code, you will get 20% off your first fee. So if you sign up for the monthly subscription at $6.99 a month, you'll get $1.40 off. If you sign up for the annual subscription, which is $49.99, you will get 20% off of that, which is about $10. So about $40 for annual subscription. So check that out. I believe that will also work for Classic Horror Movie Channel and the Classic Sci-Fi Movie Channel. And, I did my spiel last night on Classic Era, and I didn't even say what the promo code was.
Oh, wow.
That was really dumb of me, but hopefully people will figure it out. Anyway, you have to, it's only good for first-time subscribers, and you have to sign up through their website. If you go to gruesomemagazine.com on one of our blogs, or any of the blogs since we've been working with them, you will see the URLs for each of those 3 channels.
Very good. Very good.
Do that. It's good stuff. They got good stuff.
They do. And plus a whole lot of our stuff. So that's fantastic. We'd love to hear if any of you are watching it on Play Now Media, we'd love to hear what you think of it. So you could reach out to us. That'd be fantastic. All right. So we are here to talk about Eyes of Laura Mars. We are each going to give our first impression, and then we're going to talk about the film, and then we're going to wrap things up with some feedback. We have feedback tonight, right, Jeff?
We do not.
So we are not going to do feedback.
We don't.
So this will just be a movie episode. So that'd be fantastic. But we do love feedback, and we encourage you to write in and give us suggestions. It could be anything from what you think of what we talked about, a movie that you want us to talk about, or if you have top 10s or something, that would be fantastic.
We also read hate mail.
We do,
Yeah.
and that's
Which almost always starts at Dear Chad.
Dear Chad.
Which I do enjoy answering those.
There you go. All right, so let's get into it. We'll start with the card here. Eyes of Laura Mars, 1978, directed by Irving Kershner, written by some dude named John Carpenter and David Zella Goodman. Cast includes Faye Dunaway, Tommy Lee Jones, Brad Dourif, Renee Auberjonois. I can't ever pronounce his last name.
Auberjonois.
One at a time.
Auberjonois.
Thank you. That's good. And Raul Julia. The production company was Columbia Pictures, major studio partners. Filming locations, New York City, New York, and that looks fantastic. Filming dates are October 11th, 1977 to January 1978. It was released August 2nd, 1978. The budget was an estimated $7 million, and the box office was $20 million. And 1 million theater admissions in France.
Yep.
Okay. The synopsis is French photographer Laura Mars. French. Why did I just fashion photographer Laura Mars, whose photographs contain violent images, develops the ability to see through the killer's eyes.
Now the writers, there was a long list of uncredited writers, so I don't know what was going on. And then Tommy Lee Jones was uncredited as adding monologues. So I guess he did his own thing on his own.
What a guy.
Part of the script, I think. Well, I don't know. I think wasn't he friends with John Cassavetes? That was another guy that did that all the time.
Sounds about right. All right. So let's start off giving us our first impression. Who picked this?
Me.
Okay, we'll start with Chad. Chad, what was your first
Why
impression
me?
of Eyes of Laura Mars? When did you first see it? Does it hold up today?
Actually, this is the first time I've seen it in its entirety. Yeah, so bits and pieces here and there over the years, but and I had an interest in it because John Carpenter writing it, and but I've only picked up parts of it here and there, and never sat down and got to watch the whole thing. So watching it this time, it's more of a mystery thriller type film than straight horror. But it does have some elements in it of like psychic ability and some giallo moments.
Very much so.
And and stuff like that. So I really kind of liked it. It was kind of a mystery. You trying to figure out who it was killing everybody, and she can see through the murderer's eyes. She somehow develops this talent to do that. And so you're seeing people being murdered, and as she's seeing it, and so I really like that. And they throw some pretty good red herrings in there, like Brad Dourif. When usually if there's a murder involved in a movie, Brad Dourif did it.
Yeah, even if it's not in the cast.
Yeah,
Even if it's not in the cast.
yeah. So, but yeah, he had a good performance in here. The acting was really great. I love Tommy Lee Jones in this one. He was a great character. I liked him a lot. And Faye Dunaway, who I kept thinking she was going to whip out some wire hangers and just start beating the killer with it, but it didn't happen. So I was a little disappointed in that. But I like this movie a lot. It's out of the Carpenter's normal territory, but it was still a pretty good script and well written and everything. So I liked it.
Liked
a
it.
lot.
Very
And
good.
the director was one of my favorite directors. He's directed some of my favorite movies. I'll say that.
There you go. Yeah. We'll be talking about that soon.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go to our guest host, Dirk. When did you first see this, The Eyes of Laura Mars? And what was your first impression? And does it hold up today?
Well, I saw it last night, so it still holds up today. But it's one of those films that I was talking to Bill pre-show that my parents went and saw it at the drive-in when it came out, and I had seen little pieces of it here and there throughout the years, but I just never invested time in it, and I enjoyed it. It's known as kind of being an American giallo, and I definitely see the giallo in it, from the point of view of the killer to the gloved hands, the fashion models, even some of the music. My only issue with it is that I knew who the killer was the first moment he walked on camera and said a couple of lines to someone else. I don't want to bury the lead, but and I kept thinking, okay, it's so obvious that this person's the killer that I started thinking it's got to be a red herring. And so I started looking at all the other characters, and throughout the movie, the killer says all these different things that I just immediately picked up on. Now that could just be, looking through modern eyes, and I've grown up watching horror films, and I kind of can spot certain tropes. And I'm sure this was a lot more original in '78, but it didn't detract from my enjoyment of it. It's a solid film. The cast is amazing. I didn't even know about John Carpenter until I started researching the film. And then I was like, wow, this is what he did before Halloween. Like, okay. So yeah, it's a good film. I just found it a little, I don't want to say predictable. I knew who the killer was, and I wanted to be proved wrong. And I spent the whole movie trying to figure out who the real killer was. But other than that, a solid, fun watch.
Solid, fun watch.
Solid.
Bill Mulligan, sir. What was your first impression? When did you see it first?
Let me know if the background noise gets too bad. My family just came back.
No.
Walls are a little thin here. Okay, so I saw this in the theater. Which seems odd because it doesn't really seem like one of those movies, but this was a time when there were only a few theaters in town, so not a lot of choices, and it seemed like a horror movie, and I was into that, so I went, and I remember enjoying it. I don't think I had seen a giallo movie by that time, or I would have enjoyed it more because of the obvious giallo elements that are there. And now that was the first and last time I saw it until yesterday. So it's been almost 50 years.
Wow.
So there's a few things. Even back then, I knew who the killer was. Watching it now, if I had watched it for the first time, I would know who the killer was, like Dirk said, within 2 seconds of this person showing up. It's so obvious because that has become an obvious trope. They throw these red herrings at us. There's a few who, as soon as you see them, are like, you ain't going to be in any possible sequel because you're a dead man. You've got dead man. You might as well wear the red Star Trek shirt and have a target on your back. You are definitely going to die. And most of those do die. There's a few who would be very perfect, logical murderers and therefore could not possibly be the murderers. So the only thing I was thinking when I was watching it the first time was the only twist I can see, and even back then I knew twists were big, is that Laura is the killer. But that didn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. So that left really only one very obvious thing. And there's a twist at the end that is supposed to misdirect you into thinking, oh, it really isn't that person. But it's obvious that it's not a twist. It's obvious it's the killer. So that is a problem for a movie where so much is spent on the idea that we're trying to solve the mystery. The mystery is about as mysterious as a plate of fried clams. All that said, Kershner's a good director. This is a gorgeous looking film. It's one of the best cast films we've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone in this is perfect, doing the roles that they need to be. I would have loved to have seen what Carpenter's original idea. So somehow this graphic that I made did not make it. So let me just explain one thing for the audience. This movie, this is how sausage gets made. It ain't pretty. John Carpenter writes a script. He shows it to Jack H. Harris. Yes, the guy from The Blob. And because they had worked together on Dark Star. Jack Harris says, this is great. Carpenter's probably thinking, great, I'm going to get to direct, this is going to be my big break. They were planning on making the movie with, hold on a second, Roberta Collins, who was the prostitute in Tobe Hooper's Eaten Alive. She was in The Big Dollhouse, a good exploitation actress who just didn't quite make it, had some issues. He showed it. Jack Harris was friends with John Peters. And we'll probably have to go into a whole thing on who John Peters is, but he showed it to John Peters. John Peters said, this is great. I know exactly who should be in it. My girlfriend, Barbara Streisand.
Oh,
okay. Suddenly, this is not going to be a John Carpenter movie anymore. This has been bumped up in budget and prestige. Unfortunately, Streisand looked at the script and it was like, I don't know. This seems a little too sleazy here. So they got Faye Dunaway, who apparently had no problems with it. But once you got a Faye Dunaway, you're making a Faye Dunaway movie. No, John Carpenter is lucky if his name is even still in the credits anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now they had to find a different director. And so this movie, and then they also rewrote it. And Carpenter has said on many occasions he absolutely despises what they did. They changed, they changed a bunch of things, including the ending. So the killer in our version is not the version that was there. So I'd be very interested to read that original script if it's available anywhere and see what he was going to do with it. Now, everything worked out fine. I don't know that a John Carpenter Eyes of Laura Mars would have been any more successful. It's hard to believe it would be. And if it had been, or even if it hadn't been, would we have gotten Halloween? So maybe everything worked out fine. I really enjoyed this movie. I liked it better than I remember liking it when I saw it the first time. And it's fine. It's definitely worth seeking out. And it's not quite this. I wish it was a little more giallo, but I don't think Kershner is really known for his sweeping camera movements and all those other things that make giallo giallo. He's great for composition. I mean, Empire Strikes Back. Oh my God, every shot. Absolutely. Beautiful. And his use of close-ups of faces and everything. So it does have those elements. It would be interesting to have seen someone who was maybe more immersed in the aesthetic of giallo films take a crack at this. But for what it is, I think it's still a lot of fun.
Perfect. Jeff Mohr, sir, when did you first see this? And all that spiel. Let us know.
I saw this in the theater, but you guys are making me feel really stupid.
Oh, no.
Even though I saw this before.
Told you we could do it, guys.
I did not know who the killer was. I mean, I saw, are we spoilering? We usually do. Anyways, I thought the killer was a different guy. And I thought that I remembered that. I thought I remembered that that's who the killer was.
That's wild.
So all the way through, I was not really paying attention to who the killer was. I'd go, oh, they want you to think that. Well, it's not him. Well, I want you to think that. It's not him. It's this other guy. And then in the end, they try to make you think it's him again. But no, we actually have a split personality, apparently. So that's how mystified I was. I was so mystified, I didn't even remember the right guy. Anyway, not even in the last few minutes.
Well, that's a fun way to watch a movie again.
He breaks through the big glass wall and rushes up to her and hugs her. And I go, well, what the hell? He must have killed that guy in the elevator. Well, he did, but okay. I too got the whole giallo thing, but I'm glad you guys said it because I've just been seeing giallo everywhere. I sort of got dumped on last night, but I was like going, I swear, I'm binging Perry Mason as I'm doing stuff. So Perry Mason's running in the background all day long. And I swear in the last, these are like season 7 and 8, there's been several kills where an arm with a black glove on comes out from behind a doorway with something and hits somebody over the head or stabs somebody and then disappears. And that's it. You don't see it. And then they've added somebody to make the music that's a lot more, more European like. But yeah, this definitely, I thought right away, because there was a lot of weird just all these fashion shots and weird stuff that they really got into with the models and everything. But I thought they felt real. Like the way that people talked on set and that kind of stuff, and all that stuff felt real to me. It didn't feel like somebody saying lines. So yeah, it's a good movie. And this is one of those movies where I mean, it's a serial killer, guys. How can this, if this isn't horror, then Psycho's not horror. And
well, we also have the supernatural part of it.
Agreed.
Well, there is that too. There's a little bit of
or
science
whatever.
fiction, like we don't know where that's going. Apparently, she has a bond with the killer part of him. But anyway, I'm cool.
You're cool.
I'm done. Brad Dourif, awesome.
Brad Dourif's awesome. Yeah,
Awesome.
I thought I had seen this, but I only remember the first half. So I must have just like on cable early 80s or something, watched half of it and went turned it off because I don't remember any. Most of this stuff on the latter half was a big surprise. I do remember like the many of the earlier shots and the characters and stuff, but yeah, okay, so I enjoyed this, but I'm a little bit more critical than you guys of the final product. I thought it was a little clumsy, especially at the end, and I think that's the script part of it, because it just felt, the whole reveal at the end just felt really clumsy. There's one great shot in it with the mirrors that really kind of visually show us what's going on in his brain, but at the same time I just thought it was a little clumsy. And then I found out this is the guy that directed the best Star Wars movie ever, and I was like,
Yeah.
this movie doesn't compare to that. It doesn't really stand up next to it. I didn't feel the suspense that needed in here. But other than that, the performances are fantastic. The characters, although up until the end, I was looking at the end going like, after the performance, I was like, how did Tommy Lee ever get it? Tommy Lee Jones, not Tommy Lee, that would be somebody else. Tommy Lee Jones ever get another job after this? I thought it was so bad at the ending, but up until then, I was really liking the guy. The ending really tanked for me, but I really enjoyed the supporting cast. The supporting cast is fantastic. Brad Dourif, Renee. I'm just going to call him Renee because I'll never be able to pronounce his last name. And yeah, it was just there's some really fun moments. There's like the two models at the police station talking to Tommy Lee Jones. There's some cute things that happen there. I really liked the relationship that they built between the John Neville, Tommy Lee Jones character, and Laura Mars, the Faye Dunaway's character. I believed that. It felt natural and it progressed naturally, even though it had that awkward introduction. But that was, opposites attract kind of thing, right? So, so my opinion is a little mixed, but on the positive side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Did you know who did it in the opening, or are you more in Jeff's camp?
As soon as that conversation, we'll go ahead and we might be jumping into.
I misled myself.
The movie is not. I mean, it's what 50 years old, like you said, closing on it. But that conversation at the beginning kind of led me to believe that, this guy's no good, and he's always there. But he has an episode, right? But he's always around, like close. But he always has a great excuse for being there because he is the cop in charge of this investigation, right? So
yeah.
Like, oh man.
Although part of the problem I have with the film is there is absolutely zero attempt to explain why this is happening.
Exactly, there isn't.
The psychic part of it, or just
why? Well, that and why he's killing, right? Well, he's killing because he does explain it. It's
when he turns into Mr. Exposition at the end. He explains he's crazy as a freaking.
Which is the name of that personality too, Mr. Exposition.
Yes.
Yeah. But when you think about it, it's like, well, okay, maybe this has gone on longer than we think because some of the fact that she had photos that resemble crime scenes. Perhaps he saw those crime scenes and. It was developing slowly. At first, she's just getting images. Now she's actually getting things. And it did build up to what you're, waiting for, which is when she is seeing through the killer's eyes and what she's seeing is her. Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. Now, I will say one other thing, and I think this was a poor choice. Just smearing a bunch of Vaseline around the lens and having a handheld camera, showing her visions seems really cheap in a movie that otherwise has really good production values. There should have been, I don't know if Steadicam existed back then, but there should have been some way of showing the visions in a way that was more visually interesting than what they did.
I would have
It
liked
looked
that.
looked very TV movie to me.
Yeah.
But the POV of the killer is very shallow,
Yep.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. The Vaseline on the lens is very old school.
It was probably like, well, how do we do this? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Done.
Yeah. Move on to the next problem. Yeah. So anybody else want to talk about that Johnny exposition at the end? Because that's the thing I have the most problem with, is that element of it. That
It was
specific-
jarring because, well, it was for me because I didn't figure out who the killer was until the end, and I was like, but as soon as he said that weird whatever he said about him or what, then I knew.
he was talking about Tommy and
Yeah.
He was
I
talking
did
about
like-
himself. Yeah.
right, and I did like that part. I did like him talking, kind of starting off as talking about Tommy, and then you realize he's not talking about Tommy and Cheetos too.
Right.
But then it got really heavy-handed after that.
It was just jarring to me because I wasn't expecting it. I did not. I was confused as to what happened in the elevator, and then
I'm still confused about what happened in the elevator.
and what happened. I mean, you never saw Raul Julia again until Addams Family came out.
Oh
When
my
did
gosh.
Kiss of the Spider Woman come out? Didn't that come out prior to? Wasn't he in Kiss of the Spider Woman?
Yeah, but I feel
He
like this
was.
was the one that really put him on, on the radar, not necessarily on the map. And then Kiss of the Spider Woman is when people are like, "Whoa, this guy's one of our great actors."
Yeah, it was jarring to me when that whole ending just kind of hit like a log battering a door down. It just boom, and it just happened, and then you're left going, "Oh, what happened?" Because I'm not as smart as you guys. Well, maybe I'm in Jeff's camp too. I just didn't figure it out who, or I wasn't trying to figure out who the killer was. I just was watching the movie.
Yeah.
But
I was waiting for them. How are they going to reveal it? That's all I was like. How are they going to reveal it? Which was.
Well, I thought he was
and
acting extremely unprofessional for a cop. He was obviously far more involved with her than he should have. But other than that, I just thought, oh, this is the typical giallo unprofessional cop.
He gave her his service revolver out of the holster. I don't think they even did that back in the 70s.
That was Chekhov's revolver, right? So we knew that was going to come back around. But so we knew the ending because we knew how he was going to die.
When she picks that up, it's pretty casual too. Like they're having this big fight, and she spins around and like, oh, that's kind of in my head. Anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think she's actually going to get away with this when the cops show up and she's got a dead cop there that she clearly shot with his revolver, and she tells them this story?
But Raul Julia's in the elevator, so they probably come.
Is that who's in the elevator? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as we know, we never saw.
You see a shot of him as he's looking at the killer walking in, and he's like, oh, and then they kind of mix it up, and you're like, ooh, is it or isn't it? And
I must have blinked because
the editing was very tight on that. You couldn't tell who got.
Yeah, you just see the hand.
You see the ice pick or the knife or whatever it was.
Yeah, because I thought it was the guy that was handed her the phone earlier, or the little walkie-talkie earlier, because I thought that was the guard. Because she had round-the-clock guards. Right? So that's what I thought it was. Because I must have blinked and didn't catch the base.
Okay.
All I saw was the strike in the elevator.
Yeah, they showed him.
They did. Yeah, for a second.
Yeah, so I missed that.
Walking down the hall or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, or getting walking towards.
He was in the elevator, and then the POV of the killer reveals him, and he kind of looks surprised, and then it cuts like a reaction shot to Dunaway, like what? Oh, like she's freaking out, and then it cuts back, and that's when you see the hand getting stabbed.
And she thinks that's who's pounding on the door.
Yeah, and it probably is actually.
Help me!
or the killer of whoever it is.
Yeah.
But and then that's this throwing whatever it was through the window, the big picturesque window.
And how did he get out there? Like just
I
a
know.
window and then a
Who knows? Who knows?
Climbed along the ledge of the building.
Yep.
yeah.
Just like that. I mean, because it wasn't long at
Yeah.
all.
Shooed away the pigeons. Get out of the way, bird.
She owned the whole floor, maybe, so she had the. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's, for me, the thing is like, okay, so how did he pick the first victims? Why were those the first victims? I mean, so it started really making sense when the two models, for me, when the two models got off.
But it went back a long ways
because
Yeah,
they,
2 years prior, those original
because
photos
he had
that
killed
sat
people
down.
that like her pictures before.
all right.
But it's probably because he kept bringing up the subject of people who have a problem with you showing death, and
Yeah.
Right.
so that part of his personality probably was really hated that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So like, what I was going to say was like when the models were the next victims, that cemented what I was thinking with him, because that he was right, because he was the last one that we saw with them, and it didn't make sense for anybody else to be doing it. But I still don't know why he picked the other victims. The ones that knew Laura Mars before that, right? So even the first killer that we get before the show, right? The original show, or the first killing.
The one picture he cut out of the magazine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, but I wonder if that just maybe that was there somewhere and I just left.
And
left
she
on
was
the floor or something.
I think she was the publisher. I
believe so.
of the book.
Well then
Yes.
that's right. She is the publisher, so you can make sense out of that. Okay.
Yeah.
But the second one wasn't Raul Julia's like hook, is sugar mama.
Yes.
Yeah.
But she was involved
Correct,
somewhere in there too.
She was a friend. Yeah. Some friend.
His meal ticket, he says.
Meal ticket. That's right. And he goes, no.
So we don't know exactly why he
does.
Crazy people do crazy things. That's all the explanation you're going to get.
Yep. That's what happens when you're left in your one diaper for 3 days, right? So that's
3 days. Yeah.
3 days.
No,
It is
he
a
became
terrible thing,
Dexter.
but he became Dexter. Oh my gosh, you're wrong. All right, well let's look at some posters, shall we? Oh no, we have something else to do before we do that. I believe.
Oh,
Jeff,
dang it.
What
I
do
thought
we
we were
have?
getting off
I
the hook.
know, almost.
Hey, you're getting off easy. Stop your belly aching.
Notice I didn't remind anybody or say anything.
Well, it's now time for
Ba-na-na-na.
taglines with Chad.
You're not
I
going to
almost-
play that
I almost
crap
played
you
this
played
one.
last night.
No, them.
So that's been a promo for Classic Hero, episode 193.
I don't think ants sound at all like that, but I guess it's
I know,
because
but
they're
it's,
small.
but it's
When they get
pretty-
big, they do.
it was
Yeah.
pretty-
Yeah,
you know,
well, fair enough.
Which was hilarious, I must say.
I must say.
All right, taglines for the eyes of Laura Mars, or should I say tagline?
Yes.
She saw all life through the camera's eye. Then suddenly she saw death.
Bum, bum, bum.
That's been taglines with Chad. Thank you.
And that's been taglines with Chad.
Chad's
Boy, I
our
really-
hero, cool and rad. With him reading taglines, they can't be that bad.
Oh my God.
I am teachable, but you wouldn't know it from me.
Comedy of errors. All right, that's wonderful. Thank you, Chad. All right, let's start looking at some posters. This is one that this made a huge impression on me because of the just the stark graphicness of it, of it. If I make up a word, I remember this being promoted so heavily.
Well, and it's crazy when I started looking for a poster, I kept finding different versions in terms of how much of her face they showed. Some of it was just like the eyes, and I didn't realize that was a deliberate thing when they started promoting this movie. At first, it was just her eyes, and then with every release, as it got closer to the release date, they showed more and more of her face.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know where this particular one falls in that, but it is a great image.
Yes.
The font on the poster is really interesting too. It's almost like a magazine type font that you'd see on a magazine or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I don't recall what the reception was for this movie when it came out. I don't remember. I mean, it sounds like it made money, so but I can't remember.
But I think mixed critically.
Mhm.
It made money.
So here's another poster with some very giallo-y shots behind her. More legs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't go wrong with those legs.
Nope.
At least this one has a little bit of color with her and the eyes.
And sort of giving away the ending with Tommy Lee Jones right there. Kind of.
Is that him in the?
And on the left there?
No, the bottom
right
with ice pick in the mirror.
Oh, it is. Oh my God, it is. Yeah. It absolutely is. I guess they thought it was obscure enough. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't even. It went over my head, and I'm looking right at it. Interesting. Here's another version. Which one is this? There, Jeff.
Ochi. Is that Italian?
I think so. It's not German. German is Mulligan.
Yeah, it looks like a type. If you read the other small print there below Laura Mars, it looks like Italian.
No. I like that graphic.
Yeah.
Of course, I can see that they had a very specific way of promoting this because it's supposed to be like fashion and magazine, so it has a more that type of aesthetic to it.
Mm.
And also
Italian for eyes.
They also know, Faye Dunaway was a huge, huge star at that time. I mean, Bonnie and Clyde had revolutionized the movie industry to a degree. It
Chinatown as well.
Network.
Yeah. I mean,
Street Age of the Condor, Chinatown. She just come off this great string of stuff.
Yep. And she still doesn't. She still hadn't done the role everybody remembers for her now. Even though I remember Bonnie and Clyde, but
I don't remember that one.
Everybody goes to Mommy Dearest.
You never saw Mommy Dearest?
Not everyone. No.
You never saw it, Jeff?
I saw it, but I hated it.
Yeah,
I thought it was a stupid movie.
I
don't like, in general, I don't like biopics because I know they're not true. And I don't want to have to figure out what's true and what's not. Like I won't watch. I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. I will not go see that movie.
Okay.
That's it.
Man, I can't believe that.
Jeez, wow.
All right. Well, let's talk about the director, Irving Kershner, who, if you are a Star Wars
big
fan,
dum Irving.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by that, but
the Ballad of Irving. The Ballad of Irving.
Yeah, Ballad of Irving.
So he directed what I personally think is the best Star Wars movie of the batch.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah,
no question.
And
a fun James Bond movie and an okay RoboCop 2 movie.
As much as I liked the first RoboCop, I loved RoboCop 2 just as much because it was just so batshit crazy.
It's Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But when you see The Empire Strikes Back is such a great film, and it's better than the first one. I love the first one. The first one's maybe more important, but this second one, it was just all the others have been trying to catch up to it. You kind of expect, man, this guy must have gone on to do blockbuster after blockbuster, and not really. No.
I just saw a documentary. It's on Prime, and it's a series of documentaries, and they're called Icons Unearthed. And one was on Star Wars, and apparently Kershner was one of George Lucas's mentors. That he asked.
He was one of his college professors.
College professors,
yeah,
and that he asked to direct this. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. George Lucas didn't want Darth Vader to be Luke's father, but Kershner said we need to make him Luke's father. So they changed it for that. I could be wrong on that, but if I'm remembering that documentary correctly, that's sort of what happened.
Yeah, if so, good call. Yeah. And you know what? He was an older guy. So
Yeah.
maybe the reason we don't see a whole lot from him is he was getting near the end of his career. Listen, if I made a movie as great as The Empire Strikes Back, I would retire, drop the microphone, and moonwalk out of there. I would not even. There's no way you're not gonna top it. It's just.
Yeah, he started back like around 1950.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, his 70s films include it's just a little over a handful: Loving, Up the Sandbox, Spies, Return of a Man Called Horse, Raid on Entebbe, and The Eyes of Laura Mars. I remember 2 of those, and then in the 60s, Flim Flam Man. I remember that.
Didn't he do Superman 2?
Yeah, no, he did not.
But I thought they kicked Donner off of that
Oh, I don't know.
at some point, and then Kershner finished directing it. No,
If he did, they don't put it in the IMDb. So.
okay.
I think
I could be thinking Star Wars.
Richard Fleischer. I think.
What? Say that again.
I think Richard Fleischer was the director
On
took over
Superman
from
2.
Donner. Yeah,
Okay.
could be wrong.
Okay. Anybody else want to say anything about Irving Kershner?
No.
He's a distinguished looking gentleman.
He is very distinguished looking. Yes. My question is that because he did Star Wars Episode 5. Now we know it is that Empire Strikes Back. After this, that's the film he did after this one. Do you see the same camera work in here, or not camera work, but the eye for the film here as you do in Empire? I know they're widely different films, but would you look at those 2 films without knowing who the director is and say they're the same director?
I don't think I would, although there is a love of faces. He's not afraid to do close-ups and everything.
Okay. I just noticed he directed 35 episodes of The Rebel.
What
I
is
have no idea what that is.
The Rebel.
What is The Rebel, Sir Jeff?
That's a Western from the 59 to 61.
I should have known.
Yeah.
76 episodes, starred Nick Adams as
Oh.
the Rebel, and I think he had. Did he? No, that was Steve McQueen. Never mind. But yeah, he went around the West, and that was after the Civil War. So he was,
A rebel.
You couldn't make that now. I don't think.
No, because your hero is a Confederate. I do remember there was a great episode where he actually is going to kill Grant, I think, at the surrender at Appomattox, and he's so impressed and moved by the fact that these 2 men who fought against each other are behaving so honorable to each other.
He redeems himself from time to time, but he's got that. It's almost sort of a James Dean kind of. He's like Rebel without a cause, right?
Rebel without a cause.
But he kind of has this cocky way of walking, and he wears a little Confederate cap. And anyway, Kershner directed 35 out of 76 episodes.
Oh, that's
they
put his mark on
TV
it.
at
Wow.
that time.
Oh.
So,
Richard Lester was the guy that did Superman 2.
Not Richard Fleischer, Richard Lester. Thank you.
That was close. You were close.
They're both dicks.
So you heard it here first, folks.
Tried to sleep here all week.
Try the veal.
All right. Well, moving on to
Flim Flam Man.
Yeah, Flim Flam Man.
Oh, did you say that one already?
Yeah.
George C. Scott. All right. I'm sorry.
Nope, that's fine.
I should pay attention.
Well, he did follow up, The Empire Strikes Back with the Never Say Never Again, which is the odd Connery. I just shoved those 2 names together.
It's
Sean
like
Connery.
It's a French film.
Yep.
French.
Connery. I'm just going to move on now, folks. Thank you.
I believe he was the only American to ever direct a James Bond film.
At that time, right?
At that
Is
time.
that the Kim Basinger one?
Man, I don't.
Yes.
Was he in that?
Kim Basinger, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yes. Came back. Max von Sydow.
Called upon to recover
Barbara
nuclear
Carrera.
bomb stolen.
And Barbara Carrera as, one of those.
Whatever
funny
Barbara
young
Carrera
girls.
wants to be.
Yep.
That's
Bernie
right.
Casey. Oh man, Bernie Casey.
Oh, nice.
Edward
She
Fox.
was Kim Basinger was Domino Patacci, and Barbara Carrera was Fatima Blush.
Blush.
And you don't want to alter either of those words much. All right.
Right,
So.
right. Oh man. So of course
Valerie Leon was in it.
Ah. Okay, enough about James Bond.
I'm sorry. You pushed the
I did push a button there, didn't I?
you pushed the button.
Just
All right.
digging at the edge of that
I
rabbit hole,
know.
buddy, trying to
Yeah, I need going deep. Faye Dunaway is our lead, and like you said, she has come off a string of amazing films ahead of this, right?
She's an amazing actress.
Yeah, it is surprising. I mean, Bonnie and Clyde was very early in terms of her credits. I don't know if she was doing stage stuff, before that, but and what a great movie that is. Been great.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, right before this, she had done the Four Musketeers, the Towering Inferno, 3 Days of the Condor, Network, which of course all of them were very popular films. So I imagine, did she even get nominated for Network, or was it?
She had to be. I can't imagine she won. She was so good in it.
Yes. So she was a huge name at this point. Huge name. Still is. I mean, still fondly remembered. But to me, she'll always be Bonnie.
She won the Oscar for Network.
Ah, there you go.
And was nominated for Chinatown and Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh yeah, did I not say Chinatown? I skipped Chinatown. I totally skipped it. Sorry. But yeah, Chinatown. She's fabulous in that as well.
Such a good movie.
Yeah. And of course, I love Towering Inferno. She's great in that. she's
slumming a little bit on that.
Anything could be
great, I mean, I just love that film. Period.
I know.
It doesn't matter how good or bad they are. I don't know. Voyage of the Damned. I don't know. Is that one of those?
Isn't that Agatha Christie?
Agatha Christie movie. Yeah. So she was in that as well. Yeah. Her and Lee Grant were the leads.
She's in Supergirl.
Yeah.
Selena
played the witch.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yep. Forgot about that. And of course,
many people have.
Yeah.
Many people have. Rightly so.
Steve McQueen said she was the best actress he ever worked with.
Ah. And I think
he worked with the Blob. So
he did.
Yeah.
He knows. Yes.
Which would be the Thomas Crown Affair.
Thomas Crown Affair. Mommy Dearest, 1981.
Oh wow, she's a little big man. I forgot about that. She plays that church, the church guy's wife that washes him.
Oh yeah,
pays Dustin Hoffman. Yeah.
I remember about Little Big Man is the Dick Smith makeup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And Custard, General Custard, who was played by Richard Mulligan, right?
Yep.
No relation, sadly, but yeah, great performance.
But yeah, so Mommy Dearest, of course, playing Joan Crawford in the bio. We mentioned that, and she's widely known for that because of how that movie has its own life, and the dialogue in it too. What was it, Chad? No wire coat hangers.
No more
wire hangers.
But I'm going to shut up and turn it over to you guys. What about her performance here?
She's fine.
She's very good.
Yeah.
She's very good. She's believable. That middle shot shows the intensity that she brings to every role. She's not half-assing it. Yeah. And that top shot, besides showing off her great legs, and apparently there's supposedly Wikipedia, who never lies, says that she had it in her contract that they would show her fantastic legs, and why not? That's a great look because if you ever see fashion photographers doing it, they're contorting their bodies into all probably completely unnecessary shapes to get that shot. And it felt real. It doesn't look comfortable, but it looks like something a real fashion photographer would do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looks like it has purpose, right?
Yeah, the only criticism I have of her, and it probably isn't her fault, was there was a couple of scenes where she's running and she's just screaming "Donald" over and over and over again. That was just to the point of being obnoxious. I'm like, why did she think Donald's even there? I don't know.
And it's the fault of the script that this is something I just always have a problem with. she's too intelligent to think that the police would not lock her up and throw away the key if she comes at them with this. I saw this vision through my eyes. It's like instantly makes you the number one suspect and or crazy.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, you
no
know
one's
things
gonna-
that don't.
and yet people in these movies always act shocked that nobody believes their ton of malarkey that they're throwing. You know, it's like, listen, lady, if someone you didn't know told you this, you'd say they were crazy. And that's how I feel about you right now. But again, that's the script.
Especially a New York cop. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Smack it
Well,
just on pretty.
especially if they have a southern accent. New York cop with a southern accent. That's your big clue there.
We got another one that's seeing things, Albert.
Do.
Yep, right over there. Look at
Yeah.
her. She's whistling at nothing.
Yeah, they had a lot of great. Yeah. She's
Got
got.
at me like a big old bear, dude.
She does have the eyes necessary for this movie, for this role.
Okay, so you're talking about one complaint that I know that it's eyes of Laura Mars and they're relying on the eyes, but they so overdid it. There are so many shots of just her, like, you know, getting her eyes and everything, that it kind of it lost its impact toward the middle and end of the film for me.
Felt like a Fulci film.
There you go. Without the bad ending.
But there is eye trauma.
There is eye trauma. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else we want to say about Faye Dunaway?
It was nice.
Maybe not just her, but that bottom shot really reminds me of like a Jordowski film. Just the composition of it.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. I like that. Yeah.
The only thing I would say, and again, this isn't any reflection on her, it's the script, but when she states that she explains to Tommy Lee that what happens, what she sees when she sees through the eyes of the killer, and she's like, I can't see anything. And then later in the movie, she's like driving a car while she's having these flashes.
Yeah.
She's doing a good job. I mean, she's hitting stuff, but
for God's sake, don't hit the brakes.
Blind. So
I know.
kudos to her.
Floored.
Yeah, it stretched the believability a little bit then.
A little
that
bit.
was, yeah. The chase scene through New York and then the car scene were a little lackluster for what they were meant to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, she's great.
It was just cops were silly shooting. All
You
the
got
people
Paul
around.
Stanley from Kiss in his first starring role up there at the top.
Oh my God! Stop! All right, let's talk about Captain Eyebrow here. Tommy Lee Jones, looking, oh my gosh, so young because
They're called tweezers, Tommy Lee.
Yeah.
He's super young, and yet that bottom shot, you see exactly how he's going to look when he gets old.
Isn't it though? I mean, look at the difference between the above shot and the bottom shot.
He looks exactly the same now.
Because he has the boyish look up top, right? And maybe it's just the different profiles, and that's why get this side of the face. They always say this is my profile, and then the bottom one you get the grizzled Tommy Lee that we would.
You get the feeling this is a guy who is going to go far. Although yes, that scene at the end was a little weak, but again, there's no one could pull off that much exposition and so much out of the blue.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, audience, here I'm going to explain it all for you, nice, easy, tiny bits, and you're like, okay. It feels like a cheat because there was so little reason for us to think that was what was going on, other than the fact that the movie didn't give us any really likely suspects, or they were too likely, which means of course, again, we're looking at all this through modern eyes, where I've watched so many Netflix movies where the best friend always turns out to be the murderer. It's like you can spot the murderer almost immediately because there's a formula. This was one of the first ones to kind of, in my mind at least, to do that. And but other than that, I mean, I liked his performance. He was good. And like Doc, what you said, the romance between them, although unlikely, was believable.
Mm-hmm. And there's only, even though Faye Dunaway had been around quite a while, and then Tommy Lee, I guess, is fairly new to the scene at this point, there's only 5 years difference between them. He's younger by 5 years.
Wow.
So I find no reference of him being a friend of John Cassavetes, but he was a college roommate with Al Gore.
Well,
and is good friends with Willie Nelson, Gary Busey, Oliver Stone, Robert Duvall, and Will Smith.
Well,
There's some
Didn't
serious
hate
crazy
us.
in that room. Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary Busey and Will Smith. There's going to be a lot of slapping going on.
Yeah. Yeah, because his first movie was in 1970.
Best friends
Oh,
with Tom Berenger.
Oh, wow, really?
They were in a movie in '68.
I liked him best as Steven Seagal's nemesis.
What was that? Under Siege?
Under Siege.
Yeah.
He was just over the top, batshit crazy.
Anyone who's a
movie.
nemesis of Steven Seagal is okay in my book.
And me too.
Yeah. He's one of the great curmudgeons of cinema history, right?
Yeah.
He's always a curmudgeon. Yeah, for me,
He also
Coal Mine.
wanted sorry, Doc.
I was gonna say Coal Miner's Daughter is what I remember him most as Doolittle Lynn, which is the next film he did after this. So,
Oh, okay.
and then he was a star at that point if he hadn't already been.
Well, he got
But
an
he did-
Oscar for The Fugitive.
Oh, that's much later though. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. And he was also nominated for Lincoln in the Valley of Elah, which I have not seen. 2008, and JFK.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Anybody want to talk about his performance in Batman Forever as Harvey Two-Face? Chad?
No,
Yeah,
I'd rather not talk about it.
Terrible, but that was a terribly written movie, and the idea. I knew we were in trouble watching the movie, and the whole idea of Two-Face is he's either going to kill you or not. He flips the coin once, and whatever ends up, that's what he goes with. But this guy, he's going to keep flipping that coin until he gets what he wants.
That's right.
Yeah, oh, God.
You can blame John Peters for that one too.
John
Good.
Peters. Yeah. But it always feels like in that movie, you just didn't feel it. You felt like you didn't want to be there.
I don't think he did. He said the reason he did that was because his kids talked him into being in it because they thought it was cool that he would be in Batman. But he ended up playing Two-Face like the Joker,
You kind of did, right?
instead of Two-Face. Yeah.
And then he followed that up with Volcano. That was when they had those two Volcano movies come out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Dante's Peak.
Dante's Peak, which has,
Pierce
in my eyes,
Brosnan
become the better one over the two over time.
Yeah, Volcano was one of those expensive Hollywood disaster type movies.
Yeah, I've shown that in class on occasion, like during when I'm teaching earth science and I want a day off. We'll watch Volcano just to watch the scene where a guy stands in the lava and melts like a candle.
Yep.
Isn't that what happens?
No, but it does in that movie.
It does indeed.
Jesus.
This era of Tommy Lee, my first introduction to him when he was this young was Rolling Thunder. Which,
Rolling Thunder, yeah.
yeah, he's the kind of the shell-shocked friend of the main protagonist who kind of goes on that killing spree with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, and he portrayed shell shock pretty well in that film. I definitely took notice.
He's a great actor. Question his choices from here and there, but he's got to eat, I guess.
We all do, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I guess modern audiences probably know him as either K from Men in Black or from The Fugitive, right?
Yeah.
It's probably his most current famous roles.
He was in Jackson County Jail, one of his early movies, a Corman flick.
Oh.
I suddenly want to see this TV movie called Smash Up on Interstate 5 that he was in. He played Officer Hutton.
Oh, Burt Reynolds had to be in that.
Robert Conrad was the lead.
Is that a
Close.
70s?
What's that?
Is that from the 70s?
It's from the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And it's one because car wreck movies were huge in the mid 70s. And so they did this on
Eat My
TV.
Dust.
Yeah, Eat My Dust.
Ron Howard pops the clutch and tells the boy to eat my
Yeah.
dust.
I mean, Smash Up on Interstate. This entire movie, the first 3/4 of the movie is introducing all the characters. Then we get 5 to 10 minutes of actual smash up, and then we, the survivors, whatever happens. It's like, wow, boy.
Nope.
Sounds like the disaster movies of the time.
It absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah.
So circling back around to his performance here, what do we think of it? Dirk, why don't you give us your opinion first off?
He portrays crazy from the get-go. That's kind of how I knew he was the killer. He's channeling unstable from the moment he starts talking to Faye Dunaway's character, and throughout the film, it was really easy for me to tell that he was the murderer. And again, it's probably through modern eyes, having seen so many horror films and all, that I recognize certain tropes. But he portrayed a quiet menace the whole time. At the end, I agree. The exposition dump was a little, kind of took you out of the moment. He was fine. It was just, I could recognize that he was the killer from the moment he was like, kind of grilling her about, or talking to her, maybe not realizing it was her, that she was that. I wasn't sure if that opening scene when he's talking to her and going, and if you meet Laura Mars, could you tell her, what I think of her and all that? And then she's kind of like playing with him a little bit. I wasn't sure if he already knew that I guess he did, because he had just killed the producer of the photo shoot prior to showing up to that party. So I guess he was playing with her.
Yeah,
so,
he was messing with her.
Yeah.
There's a really good shot of him, like after that conversation, and still at that party where he's walking up to the platform, and kind of a bird's eye view of him. It was really interesting. Yeah, all the signals are there if you pay attention to them. But there's also a lot of red herrings to steer you a different direction as well.
True.
Because most of the time when you watch a movie and you go, I wonder who the killer's going to be. Starring Brad Dourif. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. And Raul Julia, he certainly gives us a nutball that could do it too. So
yeah.
Well, he's got the eyes. Yeah.
Raul Julia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He just
also
buggy. He's got eyes that are just kind of crazy looking.
Gomez wouldn't hurt a fly.
No. But he is presented as very, and we'll get to him here, but he's presented as very obsessive, which this thing to have, obviously it is, because so is.
Well, that's another thing that's a little off that hit me, is she swears to the cops he's not the kind of guy that would kill anybody. Yet when she meets him face to face in her apartment, it's like a screaming match about what a despicable person he is.
Right.
And then later on, she's talking to her friend and goes, "Oh, I'm worried about him. He's really uptight about this." And I'm like, "What?" He just about.
It's a little inconsistent in that respect.
The way she thinks of him is a complete 180.
It's the 70s, though, guys. That was. I don't know if it was just this. We've seen it in other movies where the women just don't act like women act in real life, especially in abuse situations. She doesn't come across as somebody who would tolerate any kind of abuse or anything, but that's how it comes across. Like, oh, he's not really bad, but he's an ant-hole.
An ant-hole. Circling back to Tommy Lee Jones here, I did believe the relationship they built between his character and Laura Mars.
Yeah,
I thought they did a real good job with that, because I believed,
it didn't seem rushed. It didn't seem rushed at all. It did, yeah.
All right, let's move on to Renee, Mr. A.
Nice wig.
Nice. Yeah, they comment about that in the movie.
Yeah,
so don't
set that wig
on fire. Oh man. Every time I see this guy, I think of King Kong, right?
Yeah.
So
76.
This is the guy I'm thinking of when I said some people are obviously victims. This guy did not have a chance. not at all. He's just, death is written all over.
Yep.
He's a likable character, kind of fun, sassy, and he's gonna die.
Hey, he ends up with over 230 credits.
Yeah.
The little guy sitting next to him too, I've seen in a lot of things before he had the afro. later
Oh,
on.
yeah,
Later on, I can't remember his name, but
he played the character's name was Bert.
Now, what exactly was Renee's role in this movie? Is he?
I think wasn't he the man? I thought he was the manager, agent, manager. Yeah,
Okay.
Agent.
Production guy or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Agent.
The guy next to him is Michael Tucker.
That's his name, Michael Tucker. Yeah.
Yes.
And what is he done?
I've just seen him in a lot of stuff.
Wasn't he on like L.A. Law?
L.A. Law, Radio
Yeah.
Days. I am looking right now. Purple Rose of Cairo, Diner, Network, uncredited. I feel like I've seen him in more. Maybe it was TV. Mighty Ducks 2.
Mighty Ducks 2.
I think it was L.A. Law's work because he was what's her name's husband. They were pretty prominent in that for a while.
Okay.
He was in
if you watch that, that's
171
where I saw it.
episodes of LA Law.
Yeah.
There you go. And we're talking about the friend of
The
talking
guy on
about
the guy on the right in the bottom picture. Yeah.
I think Renee's probably best known from his role in Star Trek and
Oh yeah.
Udo.
yeah,
not me though, not for me. Use me King Kong.
the King Kong. Yeah.
I just remember it for King Kong for some reason.
I think you and I would remember from that, but I don't think a lot of other people.
No.
I remember him in a comedy show, and I'm having a hard time finding it because I don't remember what the name of it was. But he was like the assistant to like a mayor or a governor or something. You know, like the public relations guy. And
wasn't he on Benson or?
Yeah, maybe
Yes.
that's it. Yes. When was
That was 80s.
That was in the 80s. Yeah.
Well, that's what I thought.
He was in the original
That was
MASH
in-
as well.
Was he really?
The movie, right? The movie, not the show.
Yeah, the movie. Yeah.
Who did? What was his character? What did character you play?
Oh, I
Okay, he's not in
don't
Benson.
remember.
Chad. While he's looking that up, he was in an episode of Man from Atlantis.
Yeah.
He did
I
not.
don't
swim,
remember
though, I don't
his
think.
name or anything like that.
But he was
I
only
love
one.
that show.
You did. Did you ever? And you tried to swim like that too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah.
About drowned, right?
Almost. Yeah.
In MASH, he was Father James Mulcahy.
Mulcahy.
Mulcahy
Oh, in the movie.
Okay.
in the movie. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was in 134 episodes of Benson.
What year was that? Why am I not seeing that?
Yeah, from 1980 to 1986. So they have it up toward 86.
That hair, man.
I must
And
be
he
in
played-
the wrong damn place.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Well, I'm in Michael Tucker.
Well, you're not going to find him in Michael
He
Tucker.
wasn't
He
there.
wasn't on Benson.
That's
Yeah,
what I said.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Louise.
You know, Renee was also, and I can't say his last name either correctly, but he was a really prolific voice actor as well. I mean, he did a ton of stuff. He had a great voice. From
And what do we? Do you want to go ahead and give some roles?
no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, what do we think of his role here? How did he do in this film?
I liked him in this.
I thought he was great in that part.
Agreed.
He was kind of an obnoxious character. He was very flamboyant and over the top. Like when they were having his birthday party, he was squawking all over the place, you know. And, everything was so wonderful. You know.
But he was kind of likable.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not-
Yes.
And it was
So-
a nice touch when he kicked Tommy out of the room. As far as making Tommy a red herring, that kind of gave Tommy an excuse to be the killer, I thought, at that point. When they made him leave after he brought the present in, the picture she drew at the birthday party.
Oh yes, the driver. We're
Yeah,
talking
and
about
then-
Tommy the driver.
yeah,
Not Tommy Lee Jones. We're talking about Brad
Tommy.
Dourif,
Yeah,
Brad
character.
Dourif.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif.
Yeah, he did a lot of voice stuff here.
So they went heavy to make him the red herring because and one of the better scenes I thought with Renee is actually with Brad Dourif in the car when they're when they're kind of yelling at each other and fighting. Yeah. And there's a great silent scene before that with them in the car fighting. You don't see what they're fighting about, but you can obviously see that they're arguing back and forth.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
This has that feel
Way
of
to
a
do it without dialogue.
70s movie.
Mhm.
The way it's shot and the locations and just the way it just I have this thing, I call it the 70s movie syndrome. If you watch something and you just know it was from the 70s, and it's not necessarily the hairdos or anything like that, but just the way, Doc, you might know what I'm talking about. It's just
I know, yeah.
the way it's shot and the way people talk to each other and stuff like that. It's just, and this is that for me. It just seems like a just straight 70s flick. And I thought that was cool too.
Yep.
Not the man afros.
But I do like that he, became the decoy. So Faye Dunaway could escape, get out, or not escape, but get out without detection of the cops that were watching.
Yeah.
And of course, we have Brad Dourif, who is
The man.
absolutely fantastic in this. Watching him in this, he's so on edge and quirky, but totally believable. It doesn't come off as like this manufactured person. It feels like this is a real person with these quirks, right?
To his credit, I mean, he was. That's like Bill said earlier. Name a bad role that he's ever done. You'd be hard pressed to find one. Just about anything he's in.
He's been in a lot of bad movies, but he is usually the one shining thing in that movie, like Graveyard Shift or something.
You know what? I did not know this. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
And when
great
you look at these pictures, if you can see the picture we have on the bottom, there's 9 different roles, and they don't look like the same person. Okay,
Oh, no.
admittedly, Chucky is not supposed to look like a real person, but he's a chameleon but always intense, just good. He kind of reminds me, and I'm forgetting the actor's name, the wonderful actor who he played Fredo in The Godfather. And only made about 3 or 4 films, was always you couldn't take your eyes off him when he's on the screen.
That's Sal Mineo. Is that what you're talking about?
No.
It's talking about somebody else. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't forget Exorcist 3.
Yeah.
But
You're right.
And
He
seems like such a nice guy. Dirk, I don't know if you've ever got a chance to meet him or not, but
I met him. Graveyard Shift, the movie. I entered a makeup contest, and he was the judge, and I won the contest, and so I got to stand and kind of talk to him for a while.
Very cool.
And this was
Nice.
for the release of Graveyard Shift, so it was like 89 or 90 or something like
wow,
that.
that's cool.
But really, really cool dude. Like just really
yeah.
down to earth. I mean, at that point, he wasn't quite. I mean, he had been nominated for like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all that, but it's an everyday guy, just a lot of fun to talk to. No airs, no pretense. Yeah.
Well, number one, Bill, John Cazale.
Yes.
Cazale.
Ah, yes.
Has played Fredo. And number 2, I think his daughter's like doing the same thing. She's doing the chameleon thing because with this, like in that Chucky series, she's all over the place, looking different.
Oh yeah, she inherited the talent really.
Awesome.
she got, but this is this is only his 6th role. This is only his 6th role, and the first role was in WW and the Dixie Dance Kings, but it's uncredited, so it's probably like just a walk on. And of course, the 2nd role was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and then he gets nominated on his 2nd role.
That's amazing.
And that's the middle picture at the top of the 9, right?
Yeah.
And that movie is so good and so impactful, and he's fantastic in it. Oh, everybody is. Dan DeVito's, and of course Jack Nicholson and everybody else.
Yeah.
That movie I thought was so great. That's one of the ones I went out and bought the book, the paperback novelization, so I could read it. Yep.
Oh, he was in the Jim Jones thing that starred Powers Booth too.
Guyana,
Was he really?
Yeah, the Guyana
Guyana Tragedy.
Yeah.
And of course,
everywhere.
I guess we need to say Chucky, even though everybody listening to this knows Child's Play and Chucky, but he's the voice, and he's also the character, but we don't see him often enough.
Well, that's the Charles Lee Ray character in the
Charles Lee Ray.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it is. That's from the show, though. That's like a flashback from the show, right?
He did some cool stuff in Star Trek too. The Star Trek Voyager. He did like a 3-episode arc.
It's pronounced V'ger, Jeff.
That's the movie.
No, it wasn't. That was
Oh
the
my
movie.
God.
That was the movie. Okay.
And is the bottom right one Alien Resurrection?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's good in that too.
Halloween. That's him in the middle, on the right middle. Halloween.
Is that that's the
Rob Zombie one.
Rob Zombie one? Yeah.
I liked him in Dune. I just happened to watch him in Critters 4. I just did a whole. I went
He's
back
in
and watched
Critters
Critters.
4.
Yeah, why not?
I
With
love
Angela
Critters
Bassett.
films.
It's him and Angela Bassett. So yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool. And of course, that's Lord of the Rings, right at the top left.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So fantastic actor.
Did you do a Critters watch night?
I did.
Dirk?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
It was a quiet night in the Rogers homestead, so it was a Critters night.
It was time for Critters. Rolling balls of Critters.
Yeah, I always watched the first two, and then I was like, I don't know if I've even seen the other two, and so I had to go through the whole thing. And he was anything that when Brad Dourif pops up, you're just like, yeah. This movie could suck, but for a minute, it's going to be great.
right.
So,
But I found in this film, I found him incredibly I was glued to the screen.
Yeah.
I just could not keep my eyes off. He was so magnetic, which I think is what I was getting ready to say and couldn't get it out of my face. But it was just like, he's so good. He just totally brings this character to life.
He brought something to it, like he humanized him. Like when they were in the car, and he said, "I have to tell you something before he does. That I was in prison and I did a few crimes and stuff like that."
Yep.
And
Him and Auberjonois have a nice
chemistry.
Tay there,
Yeah.
back and forth.
Yeah, and I like the dialogue he had with Tommy Lee Jones at the end when they, in his apartment when he comes back to talk to him.
Yeah.
He's just there's such a sense of desperation in it, and that's a hard scene to act without coming across goofy and foolish.
Mm-hmm.
And he did a fantastic job.
Agreed.
Because the dialogue is, it's accurate. I mean, the dialogue's not bad, but it's hard to do all those double negatives, right, Chad? And come across without being goofy, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, up next.
I don't know. I grew up in North Carolina. They're not that hard.
That's all you do is double. Raul Julia here. What was the character's name that he played?
Michael.
Michael, that's right, Michael.
The jerk.
He is a jerk.
Way too unlikable to be the actual killer, and way too he got killed to be the actual killer. So was never a suspect in my book.
But he did a great job in here. It's a smaller role.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my, you can just when he talks, you just almost hear like every role he's been in when he talks. He just has such a.
Well, he's good at raising his voice like that, and speaking and getting mad. He's really good at that.
And he's one of the best Gomez's ever, next to the original. So I do love his line in it that I was your husband. I was never your friend. Yeah, kind of epitomizes his sleaziness.
Yeah. Before this, he did the Gumball Rally, which again, we're going back to like these chase movies and crash movies, and I've been wanting to see the Gumball Rally. Well, actually, Gumball Rally I can't see. I'm confusing it with the other rally, the
Cannonball Run.
Cannonball Run, yeah. But he's in the Gumball Rally, which is one of those films I remember watching early on.
One of the movies that he was in that I really like that's kind of been overlooked is Corman's Frankenstein, Unbound.
Yeah.
Frankenstein. He's Dr. Frankenstein in it.
Interesting
Oh,
movie.
man.
Not entirely successful, but interesting. Yeah.
It was
What a creature.
fucking car, time travel.
About the only Corman movie that actually lost money.
Ooh.
Oh,
Go figure.
Oh,
I
man.
thought that was just The Intruder. I thought that was the only one that really lost.
Well, it does. It actually doesn't count because although he directed Frankenstein, Roger Corman's Frankenstein. He didn't really produce it, so it's not necessarily a Corman movie. He was more of a director for hire. But yeah, you're right. Intruder was the only one that really probably didn't make its budget back initially.
Mhm.
Great movie, though.
Absolutely. Prescient. Raul Julia rules. Yay.
One of the things they use in this toward the end, especially, is the mirrors, which, like I was saying, earlier, is like I found the ending a little clumsy, but at the same time, I really like the aspect of what they did with the mirrors, because it showed it was a great way to visually illustrate what was going on with the dialogue. Yeah, and the scene needed that. It really, really needed that. But he looks so stiff on that left side, doesn't he? Because we're showing two shots for those that are listening. There's a shot of Tommy Lee Jones standing in front of this two mirrors, kind of angled till you see two versions of him. One has the crack, and then the bottom one has Faye Dunaway looking at it with the gun, holding the gun. I thought they were going to go and do something stupid and have her split up. Her personality.
I could have sworn for 1 second that she was going to shoot herself.
Yep.
I was for 1 second I was like, no, and then she didn't. So, but I thought that's where they were going to go with it.
But she took so long to say her name to the police.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, she says some other name. It's like,
because she's
don't
kind
do
of
it.
in a
Don't do it.
Yeah. She's kind of in a hopeless situation there. Sure.
Or
in a tough situation she might not have seen her way out of and did something crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I can believe that she was in shock at that point too. I mean, she had just the man that she finally fell in love with turns out to be the one that's been killing all of her friends, and then she just helped him commit suicide, basically. Because I wasn't sure if she pulled the trigger or if he had his hand on the trigger and kind of.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Yeah.
It kind of looked both. They didn't really make it clear, did they? Because he took the gun and placed it, but we don't know if he pushed the finger or pulled the trigger, or she just did it. I kind of lean toward he did it in my own head.
Yeah.
Yeah, she kind of seemed kind of like a deer in headlights at that point.
So what do we think of I made a big spiel about the mirrors. I want somebody else to talk about the imagery of the mirrors here.
It's cool. It's heavy-handed. But this movie is a little heavy-handed at times. Whenever anybody starts talking, is like violence. Does violent images lead to violence or reverse? It's a little thick. And for a movie like this, now of course we don't realize that one of the characters is a absolute multiple personality lunatic until the very end. But I mean, mirrors are always great, and the mirrors again, giallo.
Yes.
Yes,
very much so.
And the pick to it, because he does stab himself in the eye, but it's in the mirror, which I thought was a good touch.
Mm-hmm.
And did he stab the right eye out of each victim? Do you guys notice that?
I believe so, because he also did it to the book in the beginning.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
That's the eye that he stabbed in the mirror when he was.
Yeah, it is.
That same eye.
Because whenever I see something like this, I'm always impressed that they managed not to get the camera in the mirror. Because every time I've tried to shoot with mirrors and do some artsy fartsy stuff, it's like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Yep.
Yeah, we've seen that in your movies.
Nice little boom drop into the camera. It's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, the boom too. Well, that's.
I love watching a TV show and you see like the little boom shadow kind of against the wall in the background. The boom mic, great. Anyway, so there you go. That's our review of Eyes of Laura Mars. I think we've kind of plopped it into the Giallo-ish section of horror, and I think that's a good fit for it. It's American Giallo. They were trying. They were trying, and they succeeded often in this, I think. What I don't think it has is that the lighting I expect is the only thing that I feel is missing, because it's a little bit. Even
Yeah.
with the kills in the camera, it's still a little normal, too bright, and not the
And the music's a little too Hollywood
yeah.
bombastic. It needs a little Emerson, Lake and Palmer or something.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
It's funny.
Goblin was around then.
Yeah, little Claudio's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have done something, but I get where they're going. They could have just used Carpenter. Carpenter's music would have worked fantastic in this.
Oh yeah, that'd have been great.
Mhm.
It's usually I would not recommend a movie like a slasher movie or anything like that, but I would recommend if you're a fan of horror that you would like this as well. It's a good. It kept my interest through the whole thing. I never fast forwarded once. There's no musical numbers,
Yay!
or anything like that.
Well, there
so that's
was.
a plus.
There was, but they
Well-
had models posing in the background. That one was
Yeah.
was kind of creeping me out about. I can't remember what the chorus was. Something like "Let's chant" or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah. It would make a good double feature
Ooh,
with
ooh.
Looking for Mr. Goodbar.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
fits that mode.
I like what Mad Magazine did when they, because they do parodies of movies, and they
Yeah.
called it The Eyes of Lurid Mess. Oh my gosh.
But it had all the nudity you could ask for in a movie, a giallo, and yes,
You could,
And it even has a pacer, an AMC pacer. She gets in a pacer and drives away. I laugh.
oh, that's right. I thought that was great too. There's this world famous fashion photographer, avant-garde. She drives away in the pacer.
and a station wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Her limo is a station
The
wagon.
laser
Yeah.
wagon.
I guess we should
I-
mention that a lot of the photographs were taken by actual Helmut Newton,
Yeah.
who was very famous for doing provocative, controversial film shoots like this. So they look good. They look convincing. I hate it when they have a movie where someone is supposed to be, have a career, they're good at something, but when you see examples of it, it's terrible. Like they'll do the Fountainhead, and the whole premise is this guy's a brilliant architect, and yet the stuff they show, it's like, that's not impressive. But the when they're flipping through the book and looking at her shots, yeah, that would be in a coffee table book. That looks legit.
Yeah, I thought they also captured the photography elements really well. I mean, I don't know anything about the industry, but for me, it was very believable when there's like 2 or 3 scenes where she's doing the fashion shoots, like the one in the street and the one in the one where they're playing this disco song. I forget what that song is.
Oh, yeah. When they're in her studio.
Yeah.
I can't remember it now either.
It was
a
a lot of
KC and the
music.
Sunshine Band, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it Casey Sunshine Band? Oh my
I
gosh!
think it was a KC and the Sunshine Band.
It was.
I'm frozen.
Boogie,
I can't
Boogie
get it.
Nights was on that too.
Boogie
That's
Nights,
right.
yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Check it out. Where was this available? I saw it on Prime. But
Tubi and
Tubi.
Prime.
Tubi and Prime. And
And I think it drops off Prime like right away.
And if
Right.
anyone
Yeah,
would like a
like-
signed autograph of a picture of Bill in this frozen position, just
yes, there you go. He looks
write us
relaxed.
in the notes.
He does look relaxed. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestions about what movies to cover. Check it out. We also have a Patreon account that you can join. And on that Patreon account, we are currently reviewing all 20 episodes of Kolchak the Night Stalker from the 70s. We are getting ready to wrap that up, but all 20 episodes are or will be available shortly on our Patreon account. So,
Cool.
It's been really fun to do those.
oh yes.
Had a great time.
And Bill, you have our next pick. You want to kind of give us a little
Yes.
what's up about that?
Yes, I do.
I'm fading fast here. This frozen picture looks better than I feel right now.
Oh no!
It's a TV movie from, I believe, 71. I think it was. It's called Black Noon, and it's kind of a weird Western. It's got some cool twists. It's got some adult content. as much as could be implied or shown in 1971. It's a fun little TV movie. It's got a good cast. I remember it fondly, so it'll be interesting to see if it holds up to my memories.
So it's a horror western.
A horror western. Horror western with some twists and turns and unexpected.
Roy Thinnis, Yvette Mimieux, and Ray Milland.
Ray Milland.
The man with the X-ray eyes.
Yeah, I am unfamiliar with this. So this
Yeah,
is
I am too.
Good
And
pick.
I like horror westerns, so this should be interesting.
It does. I will warn you. It does have a twist, last second shot and shock shot ending that you'll see a gazillion miles away.
Twist.
Go to the furthest end of the universe.
Well, but then again, I didn't know who the killer was in this movie. So.
Well,
all right. Well, that's it.
I will next time I watch it. I'll know.
Dirk, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Dirk.
It's always wonderful to have you.
Good luck with the band.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You want to plug your band while you're here?
Yeah, what's your band's
plug
name?
it.
No. Okay.
No.
It's a band called Bad Acid Trip, and when you listen to it, you'll understand why it's named that. So
there you go. So check that out. All right. Well, Dirk, Chad, Jeff, Bill, thank you for joining me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Yes,
Thank you.
agreed.
All right. Let's say goodnight and get out of here.
Good night. Get out of here.
Good night,
Everybody.
everybody.
Good night. We're out of here.
Gruesome Magazine.